Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is reality? What is consciousness? I mean, who are you, really? These are the biggest questions there are, and today we're diving into some seriously mind-bending answers from the brilliant AI researcher Joshua Bach. So get ready to question pretty much everything. So let's just start with this. This isn't just some philosophical thought experiment. According to Bach, this is actually a surprisingly accurate way to describe how your mind is working right now. Together, we're going to deconstruct the very fabric of your experience. All right, first up, the trance of reality. To get anywhere with this, we have to challenge our most basic fundamental assumption, the idea that the world you see and feel is the real world. What you perceive as out there is actually a simulation, a super high-fidelity story generated by your brain. You see, the real physical universe is just this chaotic storm of information that our senses can't possibly make sense of on their own. So what does your brain do? It does something incredible. It builds you a user-friendly interface. It creates a coherent story that you can actually live inside. Bach has a fantastic name for this state we're all in. He calls it the trance of reality. It's this idea that we're so completely immersed in our brain's simulation that we mistake it for the real thing. It's our default mode. And from this viewpoint, enlightenment isn't some mystical, far-out state. It's simply the moment you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm not seeing reality directly. I'm watching a representation of it. So if we're living inside this trance, this dream world, what's going on behind the scenes? What part of us is actually generating this whole experience? And here's the core of it. Your neocortex, that wrinkly outer part of your brain that does all the higher level thinking, it's running a continuous simulation. You can think of it like a ridiculously powerful graphics engine, just constantly rendering the world that you experience from moment to moment. And think about what that really means. This game engine creates everything. Colors? Well, in the raw physical universe, there are just frequencies of light. Your brain turns that into red. Sounds? Just vibrations in the air. Your brain turns it into a voice or music. All of it, people, emotions, objects, even the meaning you find in things, it's all generated content. Your brain turns raw, boring data into a world you can actually navigate. And here is where things get really wild. This is a total flip from how we usually think. We assume consciousness comes from our physical brain, right? From our neurons. Bashar argues the exact opposite. He says a physical system, like a bunch of cells, can't be conscious. Instead, consciousness is a property of the simulation. It's a feature of the dream, not the hardware that's running the dream. Okay, so if the world is a simulation and consciousness exists inside that simulation, that brings up the next very obvious question. Who are you? Well, in this model, you aren't your brain. You're not even really your body. You are a story. You are a character, an avatar, that the brain creates to represent itself inside its own simulation. The brain needs a protagonist for its story, a main character to control, so it can get stuff done in the real world. And that character is you. And you can see how this happens step by step. It all starts with a basic need. An organism has to move around and survive. So the mind simulates the world. Next, it needs a player character, so it simulates the organism inside that world. Then it attaches a special feature to that character model, consciousness. And boom, you get a first-person perspective. You get the feeling of I. You know how you can't remember being a baby? Bach points to that childhood amnesia as a really interesting piece of evidence. Little kids can talk and interact long before they have a stable idea of me. That self-program usually finishes installing somewhere between 3 and 5 years old. And once it's running, it becomes the operating system for all your memories. The time before that, it's like it's in a file format you can't open anymore. Okay, so we've got a simulated world and a simulated self playing a role in it. So what is consciousness actually doing? What's its job in this whole picture? I love this metaphor. Imagine all the different parts of your brain are musicians in a huge orchestra. They could all just play their own thing, some kind of chaotic free jazz, but it wouldn't be very useful. The conductor, that's consciousness, isn't playing an instrument. The conductor's job is to listen to the harmony across all the instruments and bring them together into one coherent piece of music. So if you were to write a job description for consciousness, it'd have 3 main duties.
First, it's a second-order perception. That means you don't just see something, you're aware that you're seeing it. Second, it's the coherence builder, getting all those different mental musicians to play in tune. And finally, it's what creates that immersive, subjective feeling of being right here, right now, what Bach calls the bubble of nowness.
Now, as you can probably guess, this entire framework for understanding our own minds has massive implications for how we should be trying to build artificial intelligence. Right now, our best AIs, the large language models, are amazing. But in Bach's view, they're like a deep fake of an agent. They're basically just incredibly fancy autocomplete systems. They're trained on a static snapshot of the internet, text that was created by humans who already have agency. For an AI to become truly sentient, it can't just mimic having agency. It has to actually have it. It needs to discover itself through its own actions. And this is the absolute key. A truly sentient AI can't just learn from a pile of old text. It needs to be connected to an environment where it can act, see the results of its actions, and then learn from that feedback loop. Through that process, it has to discover itself as an agent in the world, not just a system that has read about the world. It needs to build its own story, its own self. Which leaves us with a final, pretty profound thought. If your entire experience, your reality, your emotions, your very sense of who you are, is a story your mind is telling itself, does that mean you have the power to help write the next chapter? It's a powerful idea to carry with you.